Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra's Voice and watched the massive space station grow larger on the main screen. The Galactic Council station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. It floated between two bright suns that painted everything in golden light. Ships from dozens of different worlds moved around it like busy insects. Jake had been in space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The station was made of crystal and metal that seemed to bend light in impossible ways. Ships that looked like living creatures swam through space next to vessels made of pure energy. Some ships were so strange that Jake could not figure out which end was the front. "We are getting a message from the station," said Communications Officer Betty White. She was young and nervous, which made sense since this was the most important mission in human history. "Put it on screen," Jake said. A tall, thin alien appeared on the screen. Its skin was blue and covered in scales that shifted color. It had 4 arms and eyes that glowed with silver light. When it spoke, the translation device made its voice sound cold and bored. "Human vessel, you are cleared to dock at Bay 97. Follow the guide lights. Do not deviate from the assigned path. The Council will see your delegation in 1 hour." The screen went dark. Jake looked at the other humans on the bridge. They all had the same worried expression. The alien had talked to them like they were children who might cause trouble. "Well, that was friendly," said Chief Diplomat Lisa Carter. She had joined Jake on the bridge to watch their arrival. Lisa was smart and tough, and she had spent months preparing for this meeting. If anyone could convince the Council to let humanity join, it was her. "Do not let them get to you," said Colonel Nick Hayes. He was the military advisor for the mission, a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from old battles. "They want us to feel small. That is how bullies work." Dr. Amy Bell was studying the readings from her science station. "The technology here is incredible," she said. "Some of these ships are using power sources I cannot even identify. The station itself seems to exist in multiple dimensions at once." Jake guided the Terra's Voice through the maze of traffic toward their assigned docking bay. The guide lights led them past ships that defied everything he knew about physics. One vessel seemed to be made of liquid metal that flowed and changed shape as it moved. Another was transparent except for a glowing core that pulsed like a heartbeat. The docking bay was clean and empty except for robot arms that reached out to secure their ship. As soon as they were locked in place, the bay filled with breathable air. Jake could see the mixture readings change on his instruments. "They know our biology," Amy said. "They adjusted the atmosphere for us." "Of course they do," Lisa said. "They have been watching us for decades. They know everything about us, but we know almost nothing about them." The delegation walked through the ship's corridors toward the airlock. Jake wore his best uniform with all his medals. Lisa carried a briefcase full of documents and data crystals that showed humanity's achievements. Nick had wanted to bring weapons, but that was not allowed. Amy brought her scientific instruments, though she doubted they would work properly in this place. The airlock opened onto a corridor that seemed to stretch forever in both directions. The walls were made of something that looked like liquid starlight. Gravity felt normal, but the air tasted strange, like ozone after a lightning strike. A robot waited for them. It was shaped like a human, but made of silver metal that reflected their faces. "Follow me," it said in perfect English. "The Council is ready for you." They walked through corridors that changed as they moved. Sometimes the walls showed views of space. Other times they displayed scenes from alien worlds with purple skies and crystal trees. The robot never looked back to see if they were following. The Council chamber was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above them. Hundreds of aliens sat in curved rows that rose up like an amphitheater. Some looked almost human, except for strange colors or extra limbs. Others were so alien that Jake could not tell if they were machines or living creatures. In the center of the room was a platform with 4 chairs for the human delegation. Bright lights shone down on them from all directions. Jake felt like a specimen under a microscope. A voice spoke from everywhere at once. "The Council recognizes the delegation from the species that calls itself human. You may present your request for membership." Lisa stood up and activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared in the air above them. Cities full of lights, forests, and oceans, people from every continent working together. The images showed human art, music, literature, and scientific discoveries. "We come before you as representatives of humanity," Lisa said. Her voice was clear and strong. "We have traveled far to request membership in this great council. Humanity has much to offer. We have creativity, determination, and a desire to learn and grow. We have explored our solar system and reached for the stars. We have overcome wars and divisions to unite our world. The display showed more images, space stations, moon bases, the first ships that had traveled to other star systems, human cities on Mars and the moons of Jupiter, scientists working in laboratories, artists creating beautiful works, children learning in schools. We know we are young compared to your civilizations, Lisa continued. But youth brings energy and new ideas. We want to learn from you and share what we have learned. We believe that together, all species can build a better future. When the presentation ended, the chamber was quiet for a long moment. Then an alien near the front stood up. It looked like the one who had spoken to them over the radio, with blue skin and 4 arms. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire, it said. The Council has reviewed your species extensively. While you show some promise, you are clearly not ready for membership. You are too primitive, too violent, too unpredictable. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your history is filled with wars and conflicts. You have barely left your home system. Other aliens began to speak, each one finding new reasons why humanity was not good enough. They called humans warlike, immature, and dangerous. They said human technology was crude and human culture was chaotic. Lisa tried to respond, but they would not let her speak. The decision had already been made before the humans had even arrived. The Council votes to deny membership to the human species, Veltar announced. Perhaps in 1,000 years, when you have matured and developed proper technology, you may apply again. The chamber began to empty as aliens filed out without another look at the human delegation. Jake felt anger burning in his chest, but he kept his face calm. They had come here with hope and been treated like insects. Well, Nick said quietly as they walked back to their ship. That went about as well as I expected. Lisa was quiet, but Jake could see the determination in her eyes. This was not over. Humanity would find another way to prove they belonged among the stars. Dr. Amy Bell stared at the readings on her screen and felt her heart skip a beat. She was working the night shift at the Deep Space Monitoring Station on Luna, and the numbers she was seeing made no sense. The energy signatures were massive, bigger than anything in the galaxy's database. Computer, run the scan again, she said. The same readings appeared, thousands of objects moving through space at the edge of the galaxy, each one the size of a city. Their energy output was off the charts and they were moving in perfect formation toward the galactic core. Amy had been studying alien technology for 6 months since the failed mission to the Galactic Council. The rejection still stung, but it had motivated Earth scientists to work harder. They wanted to prove that human knowledge was worth something. She activated the emergency communication system. This is Luna Station calling Earth Command. I need to speak with Admiral Kate Sullivan immediately. Within minutes, Admiral Sullivan's face appeared on the screen. She was a tough woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. What is it, Doctor? Admiral, we have a situation. I am detecting a massive fleet at coordinate 77 Alpha. The ships are unlike anything in our databases. They are moving toward the galactic center at incredible speed. How massive? Sullivan asked. At least 10,000 vessels, maybe more. And Admiral, their technology is beyond anything we have ever seen. They are using power sources that should not be possible. Admiral Sullivan was quiet for a moment. Send me everything you have. I will alert President Brooks immediately. Amy worked through the night, gathering every piece of data she could find. The more she studied the readings, the more worried she became. The ships were using some kind of dark matter manipulation that bent space around them. Their weapons appeared to be based on quantum displacement technology that could tear holes in reality itself. As the sun rose over Luna's surface, more reports came in from monitoring stations across human space. The fleet was huge, and it was definitely heading toward inhabited systems. 3 hours later, Amy found herself in a secure video conference with Earth's top leaders. President Helen Brooks sat at the head of the table, flanked by Admiral Sullivan and General Paul Carter. Several other military and scientific advisors filled the rest of the screen. Give us your assessment, Doctor, President Brooks said. Amy took a deep breath. Madam President, this fleet represents a threat unlike anything the galaxy has ever faced. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of even the most advanced council races. If they are hostile, which seems likely given their approach pattern, they could destroy entire civilizations. What do we know about their intentions? General Carter asked. We intercepted a transmission an hour ago, Admiral Sullivan said. It was broadcast on all frequencies to every known civilization in the galaxy. She activated a recording. A voice filled the room, speaking in a language that sounded like static and screaming metal. The translation appeared as text on the screen. Your galaxy will be harvested. Resistance is futile. Prepare for collection. The room was silent for a long moment. Harvested, President Brooks said finally. That does not sound good. There is more, Amy said. I have been analyzing their ship configurations. They appear to be equipped with massive processing and storage facilities. I think they are planning to strip the galaxy of all useful resources, including intelligent life. We need to warn the Galactic Council, said Dr. Frank Miller, the Secretary of Science. General Carter shook his head. They will not listen to us. They made it clear that humanity is not worth their time. They will listen when their worlds start burning, Admiral Sullivan said grimly. President Brooks made the decision. Admiral, prepare a fast courier ship. Captain Morrison will carry the warning to the Council. Maybe they will take us seriously when they see the data. 2 days later, Captain Jake Morrison found himself once again approaching the Galactic Council station. This time his ship was smaller and faster, designed for urgent missions. He carried with him complete sensor data on the approaching fleet and detailed analysis from Earth's best scientists. The Council chamber was nearly empty when he arrived. Only a few dozen aliens were present, and they looked annoyed at being disturbed. Ambassador Veltar sat in his usual position, his forearms crossed in what Jake had learned was a sign of irritation. The Council did not request another human delegation, Veltar said. Your species was told to return in 1,000 years. This is not about membership, Jake said. This is about survival. An invasion fleet is approaching from outside the galaxy. They have technology far beyond anything we have ever seen, and they intend to harvest all intelligent life. Jake activated his holographic display and showed the sensor data. The aliens leaned forward as they saw the massive energy signatures and impossible ship configurations. Murmurs filled the chamber as the translation devices worked to convert dozens of alien languages. These readings must be incorrect, said the representative from the crystalline hegemony. No civilization possesses such technology. The data has been verified by multiple stations, Jake said. The fleet will reach the outer rim of the galaxy in less than 2 weeks. Ambassador Veltar studied the readings with his glowing silver eyes. Even if this data is accurate, what do you expect the Council to do? If these invaders are as powerful as you claim, resistance would be pointless. You have the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, Jake said. Surely working together you can find a way to defend against this threat. The Aquatic Consortium's delegate, a creature that looked like a jellyfish made of living water, spoke in bubbling tones. The human speaks of cooperation, but his species was rejected for primitive technology and violent nature. What could humans possibly contribute to galactic defense? Jake felt the familiar anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. We are offering our help regardless of your previous decision. This threatens everyone. Help from a species that has barely left its home system, Veltar said with what might have been laughter. The Council will consider this information and take appropriate action. You are dismissed. Jake wanted to argue, but he knew it would be useless. He gathered his equipment and left the chamber, feeling the weight of alien stares on his back. As he walked back to his ship, Jake activated his secure communication system. Earth Command, this is Morrison. The Council has been warned, but they are not taking it seriously. They still think we are primitive and useless. Admiral Sullivan's voice crackled through the speaker. Copy that, Captain. Return to Earth immediately. We have work to do. During the flight home, Jake thought about the alien faces in the Council chamber. They had looked at the data with concern, but they had not shown real fear. They still believed their advanced civilizations could handle any threat. Jake hoped they were right. But something in his gut told him they were about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating the unknown. 3 days after Jake's return to Earth, the first reports came in from the galactic rim. The Zephyrian colony on Kepler Prime had gone silent. Their last transmission was a single word repeated over and over: harvest. The invasion had begun. The news reached the Galactic Council 3 days after Kepler Prime went silent. Ambassador Veltar stood before the emergency assembly, his blue skin pale with shock. The chamber that had been nearly empty during Captain Morrison's warning was now packed with representatives from every member species. The Zephyrian Third Fleet has been destroyed, Veltar announced. His voice, usually so confident and dismissive, now shook with fear. All 27 ships, including the flagship Starwind, were eliminated in less than 4 hours. A wave of shocked sounds filled the chamber. The Zephyrian Third Fleet was considered the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Their ships used quantum shielding and plasma weapons that could destroy planets. The idea that they could be wiped out so quickly seemed impossible. The representative from the Aquatic Consortium, Ambassador Reef High, spoke in her bubbling voice. What happened to the survivors? Were there any escape pods recovered? Veltar's forearms moved in a gesture of hopelessness. There were no survivors. The enemy ships used some kind of dark matter weapon that tore our vessels apart at the molecular level. The only reason we know what happened is because one ship managed to transmit sensor data before being destroyed. The holographic display in the center of the chamber activated, showing the final moments of the battle. The council members watched in horror as massive black ships appeared from nowhere, their hulls seeming to absorb light itself. The Zephyrian vessels fired everything they had, but their weapons simply disappeared when they hit the enemy shields. In response, the dark ships fired beams of twisted energy that made space itself crack and tear. The Zephyrian ships did not just explode, they seemed to be unraveled from reality, their atoms scattered across the void. The human warning was accurate, said the crystalline hegemony's representative, its voice ringing like broken glass. These Void Reapers possess technology beyond our understanding. Ambassador Veltar looked around the chamber at faces filled with fear. The enemy fleet is moving steadily toward the galactic core. At their current speed, they will reach the next inhabited systems within days. What are our defense options? Asked the delegate from the Silicon Collective, a machine intelligence that spoke in electronic tones. All member fleets are being recalled to form a unified defense, Veltar said. We will make our stand at the Centauri Junction, where the hyperspace lanes converge. It is our best chance to concentrate our forces. The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives argued about tactics and strategies. Some wanted to abandon the outer systems and fall back to heavily defended core worlds. Others insisted they should fight for every planet and moon. While the council argued, reports kept coming in from the front lines. The Void Reapers were methodical in their advance, attacking one system at a time. They would arrive, eliminate all resistance, and then begin what they called the harvest. Entire populations simply vanished, leaving behind empty cities and silent worlds. The united fleet that gathered at Centauri Junction was impressive by any normal standard. Over 3,000 ships from dozens of different species, each one representing the pinnacle of their civilization's technology. The Aquatic Consortium brought their bioships that could heal themselves in battle. The crystalline hegemony contributed vessels made of living crystal that focused energy into devastating beams. The Silicon Collective added robot ships that could link their processing power for coordinated attacks. Admiral Quextar of the Zephyrian Navy took command of the combined fleet. He was an experienced officer who had fought in dozens of conflicts across the galaxy. His tactical skills were legendary, and his presence gave the other commanders confidence. We will hit them with everything we have, Quextar said during the pre-battle briefing. Concentrated fire on their largest vessels. If we can break their formation, we might have a chance. The battle began when the Void Reaper fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system. There were fewer enemy ships than expected, only about 200, but each one was massive. They moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls seeming to bend space around them. All ships attack Formation Delta, Admiral Quextar ordered. Focus fire on the lead vessel. 3,000 ships opened fire at once. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and exotic particle weapons filled space with deadly light. It was the largest coordinated attack in galactic history, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The weapons hit the Void Reaper shields and simply disappeared. The dark matter barriers around the enemy ships absorbed every form of energy the Council fleet could produce. It was like trying to hurt a mountain by throwing pebbles at it. The Void Reapers responded with their own weapons. Beams of twisted space-time reached out from their ships, and wherever they touched, reality seemed to break down. Council ships did not just die. They ceased to exist, their very atoms scattered across dimensions. Within minutes, half the Council fleet was gone. Ships that had taken decades to build and centuries to perfect were eliminated in seconds. The bioships of the Aquatic Consortium tried to regenerate from the damage, but there was nothing left to heal. The crystal vessels of the hegemony shattered like glass hit by lightning. All ships retreat, Admiral Quextar ordered, his voice tight with desperation. Fall back to the secondary defense line. But there was no retreat. The Void Reapers moved faster than physics should allow, appearing around fleeing ships and destroying them one by one. The few vessels that escaped carried news of the disaster back to the Council. In the aftermath of the defeat, emergency sessions were held across the galaxy. Panic spread through member worlds as populations realized their mighty fleets could not protect them. Some species began evacuating their home planets, while others simply waited for the end. It was during this darkest hour that Ambassador Veltar made a decision that went against everything the Council had believed. He opened a communication channel to Earth and sent a desperate message to the human government. "This is Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Council," he said, his pride broken by necessity. "We formally request immediate assistance from the human species. In exchange for your help in this crisis, we offer emergency membership in the Council, with full voting rights." The response came back within hours. President Helen Brooks appeared on the communication screen, flanked by Admiral Sullivan and General Carter. Her expression was serious but not surprised. "Ambassador Veltar," President Brooks said, "we received your message. Before we discuss terms, we need complete tactical data on the enemy fleet and unrestricted access to all Council military technologies." "You wish to study our weapons?" Veltar asked, confused. "But your technology is primitive compared to ours. What could you possibly add to our defense?" Admiral Sullivan stepped forward. "Ambassador, your advanced weapons just failed completely against this enemy. Maybe it is time to try something different." Veltar hesitated. Sharing Council technology with humans went against every protocol and tradition. But with Void Reaper ships advancing on core worlds, tradition was a luxury they could not afford. "Very well," he said finally. "You will have everything you request. But please, you must hurry. We estimate the enemy will reach the Altair system within 72 hours. "We will be ready," President Brooks said. "But this time, humanity fights as equals, not as junior partners begging for scraps." Veltar looked at the human leader and realized that something had changed. The desperate species that had been rejected months ago now spoke with quiet confidence. They had a plan. And for the first time since the invasion began, Veltar felt a small spark of hope. "Agreed," he said. "Welcome to the Galactic Council, humans. Now please show us what you can do." Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the main briefing room of Earth Defense Command, looking at the holographic display that showed the current tactical situation. Red markers indicated Void Reaper positions advancing steadily toward the galactic core. Blue markers showed the scattered remains of Council fleets, most of them destroyed or retreating in panic. "Show them what we have been working on," President Brooks said to General Paul Carter. General Carter activated a new section of the display. Green markers appeared throughout human space, representing ships and installations that the Galactic Council had never known existed. The numbers were staggering. While the Council thought humanity had barely left Earth, humans had actually built a massive military infrastructure across dozens of star systems. Ambassador Veltar, who was attending the briefing via secure communication, stared at the display in shock. "This is impossible. Our sensors would have detected such a large fleet." "Your sensors detected what we wanted them to detect," Admiral Sullivan said calmly. "For the past 50 years, humanity has been preparing for exactly this kind of threat. We may not have your pretty crystal ships or bioweapons, but we have something you do not understand." "And what is that?" Veltar asked, his voice tight with confusion and growing hope. "We know how to fight a war," General Carter said. "A real war against an enemy that wants to destroy everything we care about." Dr. Amy Bell stepped forward, carrying a datapad filled with technical specifications. "Ambassador, may I explain what we discovered about the Void Reaper technology?" "Please," Veltar said. Amy activated a detailed scan of a Void Reaper ship. Their quantum displacement drives create a specific harmonic resonance pattern. Every time they move through space or activate their weapons, they generate frequencies that can be tracked and predicted. "More importantly," added Dr. Frank Miller, "those same frequencies can be disrupted if you hit them with the right counter-harmonic pulse." Veltar leaned forward. "Are you saying their technology has a weakness?" Everything has a weakness, Admiral Sullivan said. The Council races spent so much time making elegant weapons that you forgot the first rule of warfare. If it can kill you, you find a way to kill it back. General Carter brought up schematics of human warships. They looked crude compared to the flowing lines of Council vessels, but they were packed with weapons and armor. These are our Hellfire-class battleships. Each one carries antimatter torpedoes, quantum entanglement arrays for instant communication, and most importantly, harmonic resonance cannons designed specifically to disrupt quantum fields. How many ships do you have? Veltar asked. Enough, Admiral Sullivan said. But we need something from you. Complete technical specifications for Void Reaper ships and real-time tactical data from the front lines. You will have everything, Veltar said quickly. But Admiral, even with your hidden fleet, you are still outnumbered by thousands to one. Admiral Sullivan smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Ambassador, you are thinking like a council race. You want to meet them in open battle with pretty formations and honorable tactics. That is not how humans fight. Then how do you fight? Veltar asked. Dirty, General Carter said. We hit them where they do not expect it, when they do not expect it, with weapons they have never seen before. Captain Jake Morrison entered the briefing room, wearing the uniform of the new human space navy. His ship, the New Horizon, was one of the most advanced vessels in the human fleet, equipped with experimental weapons that had been tested in secret for decades. Captain Morrison will command our first strike force, Admiral Sullivan announced. Jake, give our council friend a demonstration of what we have planned. Jake activated a tactical simulation. It showed a small human fleet approaching a Void Reaper formation using stealth technology that made them nearly invisible. We do not announce our presence with fancy energy signatures, Jake explained. We get close, hit them hard with coordinated resonance strikes, and disappear before they can respond. The simulation showed human ships materializing around a Void Reaper vessel and firing in perfect synchronization. The enemy ship's quantum fields collapsed, and the vessel tore itself apart as its own technology turned against it. Impressive, Veltar said. But will this work against their entire fleet? We are about to find out, Admiral Sullivan said. Captain Morrison, you launch in 6 hours. Your target is the Void Reaper Advance Force in the Vega system. Jake nodded. My ships are ready, Admiral. Steve Walsh, Diana Price, and Troy Bennett are commanding the other vessels in my task force. We have been training for this mission our entire careers. What about the main fleet? Veltar asked. The Void Reapers have thousands of ships approaching the core worlds. President Brooks stepped forward. Ambassador, humanity is officially requesting joint command of all remaining Council forces. Not as junior partners, but as equals working together to save the galaxy. Granted immediately, Veltar said without hesitation. What do you need? Every ship you have left, positioned according to our tactical plan, Admiral Sullivan said. And most importantly, trust. We are going to ask your people to do things that go against everything they have been taught about warfare. Such as running away when they want to fight, hiding when they want to be heroes, following orders from humans when they think they know better. General Carter's voice was hard. This is not going to be a glorious battle with honor and ceremony. This is survival, and survival is ugly. Dr. Amy Bell brought up her analysis of the Void Reaper harvesting process. We believe they are not just destroying civilizations. They are collecting the energy patterns of intelligent minds and storing them in quantum matrices. Every person they harvest makes them stronger. Which means, Dr. Miller added, that every day we delay gives them more power. We have to strike now, before they become unstoppable. Veltar was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he had learned. The humans had technology the Council did not understand, tactics that seemed impossible, and a way of thinking about warfare that was completely alien to galactic civilization. Admiral Sullivan, he said finally, the Council species have always believed that superior technology and peaceful intentions would protect us. We thought violence was primitive and unnecessary. Violence is a tool, Admiral Sullivan replied. Like any tool, it can be used for good or evil. We choose to use it to protect what we love. Then we place our hopes in human hands, Veltar said. May your primitive violence succeed where our advanced civilization has failed. Captain Jake. Morrison looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. 6 months ago, these same people had been rejected by the Council as unworthy. Now they were the galaxy's last hope. We will not let you down, Jake said. But when this is over, the galaxy is going to have to accept that humanity belongs among the stars, not as your students or your junior partners, but as your equals. If you can defeat the Void Reapers, Veltar said, humanity will be recognized as the premier military power in the galaxy. I give you my word. Jake smiled and headed for the door. He had a war to fight, and for the first time since the invasion began, he was looking forward to it. The Void Reapers were about to learn what happened when they threatened humanity and its friends. It was time to show the galaxy what humans could really do. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon as his task force approached the Vega system. 4 human warships moved through space like shadows, their stealth systems making them nearly invisible to conventional sensors. Behind him, Captain Steve Walsh commanded the Thunderstrike. Captain Diana Price led the Starhammer, and Captain Troy Bennett piloted the Iron Wolf. Void Reaper formation detected, reported Lieutenant Carol Hayes from the sensor station. 12 ships in standard harvesting configuration around Vega Prime. Jake studied the tactical display. The Void Reaper vessels hung in space like massive black daggers, each one slowly draining energy from the planet below. The colony's population of 2 million people was already gone, their life force absorbed into the enemy's quantum matrices. All ships, prepare for coordinated strike, Jake ordered over the secure communication channel. Remember, we hit them at exactly the same moment. If even one ship fires early, this will not work. The 4 human vessels moved into position around the Void Reaper formation. Their harmonic resonance cannons were charged and ready, each weapon calibrated to disrupt the specific quantum frequencies that Dr. Amy Bell had identified. Target acquired, Steve Walsh reported from the Thunderstrike. Standing by, Diana Price said from the Starhammer. Ready to fire, Troy Bennett confirmed from the Iron Wolf. Jake watched the countdown timer on his screen. 30 seconds, 20, 10. The Void Reapers continued their harvest, completely unaware of the human ship surrounding them. Fire, Jake ordered. 4 harmonic pulses fired simultaneously, each one striking a different Void Reaper vessel. The quantum fields that protected the enemy ships began to vibrate and collapse. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the first Void Reaper ship began to tear itself apart as its own technology turned against it. The effect spread through the enemy formation like a chain reaction. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before were now writhing in space as their quantum drives became unstable. Dark matter that had been under perfect control was now running wild, ripping holes in the fabric of space-time. All targets destroyed, Lieutenant Hayes reported. No survivors detected. Jake felt a grim satisfaction as he watched the last Void Reaper vessel collapse into a miniature black hole. All ships return to base. Time to prepare for the main event. The success at Vega sent shockwaves through both the Void Reaper fleet and the remaining Council forces. For the first time since the invasion began, the enemy had been defeated. The mysterious harvesters were not invincible after all. Ambassador Veltar called an emergency meeting of all surviving Council representatives. The chamber was only half full now. Many species had lost their homeworlds to the Void Reapers. Those who remained looked at the human delegation with new respect and desperate hope. The human strike was completely successful, Veltar announced. 12 Void Reaper ships were destroyed with no human losses. Admiral Sullivan, please explain how this was accomplished. Admiral Sullivan stood before the assembly with quiet confidence. The key was understanding their technology instead of just being impressed by it. Every quantum system has harmonic frequencies that can be disrupted. We built weapons specifically designed to exploit that weakness. Why did our weapons fail when yours succeeded? Asked the Crystalline Hegemony representative. Because you tried to overpower them, General Paul Carter explained. You threw more and more energy at their shields, thinking that brute force would work. We attacked their control systems instead. It is like the difference between trying to break down a door and simply turning the handle. Dr. Amy Bell activated a holographic display showing the main Void Reaper fleet. The enemy has responded to our attack by consolidating their forces at the galactic core. They are building some kind of massive harvesting station around the black hole at the galaxy's center. The display showed a structure so large it defied comprehension. The harvesting station was the size of a solar system, with millions of processing nodes designed to convert matter and energy into whatever the Void Reapers needed. Ships the size of moons moved around it like worker insects. If they complete this station, Dr. Frank Miller said, they will be able to harvest entire star systems from a distance. We will not be able to get close enough to use our weapons. Then we stop them before they finish it, Admiral Sullivan said simply. The final battle plan was unlike anything in the history of galactic warfare. Instead of the traditional approach of meeting the enemy in open combat, the human strategy relied on coordination, timing, and the element of surprise. Captain Jake Morrison would lead the primary assault force, consisting of 50 human warships and the surviving vessels from a dozen council species. Their job was to penetrate the harvesting station's defenses and destroy the central quantum matrix that powered the entire structure. Meanwhile, Captain Lisa Grant would command a secondary force that would attack the Void Reaper mobile fleet, using hit-and-run tactics to keep them distracted. Captain Matt Thompson would lead a third group that would target the station's processing nodes, while Captain Sarah Lee commanded ships equipped with experimental quantum jammers. The timing has to be perfect, Admiral Sullivan explained to the assembled fleet commanders. If we attack in sequence, they will adapt their defenses, but if we hit everything at once, their quantum processing systems will overload. Captain Troy Bennett, who had volunteered for the most dangerous mission, would take his ship directly into the harvesting station's core. His vessel had been modified with a special quantum resonance bomb that could collapse the entire structure, but it required manual detonation from inside the station itself. I know it is a one-way mission, Troy said when Admiral Sullivan offered him a chance to withdraw, but if it saves the galaxy, it is worth it. The combined fleet approached the galactic core through hyperspace corridors that the Void Reapers had not yet discovered. The journey took 3 days, and Jake spent the time reviewing tactical data and talking with his crew. Many of them were young people who had grown up hearing stories about humanity's rejection by the Council. Now they had a chance to prove that their species belonged among the stars. When they emerged from hyperspace, the sight that greeted them was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The harvesting station filled their view screens, its dark bulk blotting out the stars. Void Reaper ships moved around it in complex patterns, their quantum signatures creating distortions in space-time that made normal navigation impossible. All ships, "This is Admiral Sullivan," came the voice over the communication system. "Today we fight not just for humanity, but for every thinking being in the galaxy. Show them what we are made of." The battle began with a coordinated assault on multiple fronts. Human ships materialized throughout the Void Reaper formation, their harmonic weapons firing in perfect synchronization. Council vessels that had learned human tactics struck at predetermined targets with weapons modified according to human specifications. The enemy responded quickly, but their coordination was disrupted by the simultaneous attacks. Ships that had moved in perfect formation now struggled to adapt to the chaotic human style of warfare. Jake guided the New Horizon through the harvesting station's outer defenses, dodging energy beams that could have vaporized his ship. Around him, other vessels followed the attack plan with precision that would have made any military academy proud. Captain Troy Bennett's ship, the Iron Wolf, penetrated deepest into the station. Jake watched on his tactical display as Troy's vessel disappeared into the structure's core, carrying its deadly cargo toward the central quantum matrix. "Troy, you are in position," Jake said over the communication channel. "Are you ready?" "Ready as I will ever be," Troy replied. His voice was calm despite the fact that he was about to sacrifice his life for the galaxy. "Tell my family I was thinking of them." "I will," Jake promised. The explosion that followed was visible across half the galaxy. The harvesting station's quantum matrix collapsed in on itself, creating a chain reaction that tore the massive structure apart. Void Reaper ships caught in the blast were pulled into dimensional rifts that scattered them across space and time. The surviving enemy vessels tried to retreat, but human ships were waiting for them. Captain Lisa Grant's force had positioned itself along all the escape routes, turning the Void Reaper withdrawal into a slaughter. When the last enemy ship was destroyed, The galaxy fell silent. The invasion was over. In the aftermath, Jake found himself back in the Galactic Council chamber, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. Every surviving species had representatives present, and they looked at the human delegation with respect and gratitude. Ambassador Veltar stood before the assembly, his blue skin now showing silver markings that Jake had learned indicated deep emotion. The Council formally recognizes humanity as a full member species with permanent seats on the High Council. More than that, we acknowledge that humanity's military leadership saved us all. President Helen Brooks accepted the recognition with dignity. "We did not fight for recognition," she said. "We fought because it was right. But we will accept our place as equals among the stars." Jake looked around the chamber at the faces of aliens, who had once dismissed humanity as primitive and violent. Now they understood that sometimes Viva